kicked me off then. I am back. You'll have to, I'll give everyone a second because you'll have to now find that I've restarted it, because unfortunately okay, I am back. No one's watching, so let me give me a second to find the new stream. I'm not sure how I can make it so it just stays on the same stream if that happens. Yeah, one person's back. Well, let me get the engine uncovered whilst we're waiting. It's going to be really annoying if it keeps kicking people off the stream. Put something in chat if you are still here. I think everyone's it's probably still sat looking at the other one thinking it would come back, but doesn't seem to be. At least I noticed it disconnected. Let me put this in here. Yeah. Apologies for the disconnect. Sorry, this is partly a technology test. I'm streaming from the GoPro, which is kind of like, you can see so the GoPro is kind of connected to my phone via the GoPro app, which is what's doing the stream, and then I've got my tablet so I can see what you people are saying, if you are. But I am relying on a mobile signal, and I'm relying on, yeah, just generally technology working, which we all know how that goes. Anyway, I'll carry on with the engine chat, and then if anyone catches up later, they can always scroll back to it. So yeah, I'm not sure where I lost you, but basically, yeah, 3 problems with the engine, 2 not starting, and 1 with the prop issue. Now, around the time of the second not starting on the way down to Campbelltown, I was really fed up with this engine and sailing in general, to be honest. And at that moment in time, no matter what, this winter, that engine was going. Now, I might have gone to someone to get properly reconditioned and done over that way, or might have got replaced with something else. Reality wise, I probably was never going to be able to afford to get a newer, sort of nicer engine. Sorry, I'm just confused that no one has found a new one. I'm just worried that it's not obvious that there's a new stream up. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where I was, and that's not far off kind of where you are in the video series. Now, the problem, in some ways, if you look at it as a problem, is that from that moment forward, as you're going to see, the engine did not miss a beat. It never had any issue starting. It always ran consistently, always had the same amount of power, same revs, everything. So I'm in this kind of place where I've sat the last few weeks and edited through all this engine woe, which has brought back all of that feeling and emotion that I want to get rid of this engine and get a new engine. But then that's kind of juxtaposed against, another 6 weeks or whatever of the engine just behaving and working perfectly, and me kind of thinking, well, it's fine, I don't need to change it. So I'm a bit stuck as to what to do. Now, one side is just, well, I'll just give it a good service and we'll just see how it goes this season. one option I do have is, because I've got two engines now, I've got my old one, and the old one had just had the head and injectors redone. So in theory, people are starting to turn back up again. Apologies if you got disconnected. I say technology is what it is, and it just shut down the stream, and I can't seem to be able to restart it. I have to start a new one, so hopefully you haven't been sat staring at a blank screen for too long. But yeah, we're just talking about the engine. You can scroll back. There'll be boring bits in a minute, so you can, I'm sure you can scroll back and watch it. But yeah, just recapping the engine and basically saying, what do I do now with it? So I could take the option of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which seems like a relatively smart one. Or, and come down, you can see, I could take the head off this one, take the head off my other one, and fit the head off my other one to this. Now the benefits of doing that is to say the other head has been serviced, the injectors have been serviced. I don't think I've got a major problem with this one. But so I don't, you know, that's the whole don't, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of idea. There's only one issue I have with this engine now at all, and that is that I am getting a bit of oil in the exhaust, and I say a bit. I haven't sat down and gone through the full log, but I logged all of our hours, and I logged all of the oil change, you know, any oil additions and things like that, and levels of oils over the summer trip, and the capacity for it is about 2.5 litres of oil. And I think Franken engine, yeah, that would probably certainly be what it would end up being. I think I'd put in somewhere around 2 litres of oil for probably about 100 to 150 hours of motoring, which for a 30-year-old clunky 2-cylinder diesel engine, you know, it's not the best. Obviously it should be no oil, but doesn't feel like a terrible amount. But again, I don't really know, so if anyone tells me and goes, holy crap, you put 2 litres of oil in it, that engine's going to blow up, then great. But I don't think it's a major issue, and the oil coming out of the exhaust is not like loads. You know, you only really notice it if you're sort of sat idling for a while in a very still sort of anchorage, or when we were sort of idling in the locks at Crinham. So yeah, not sure changing the head would make any difference to that anyway, because it's probably piston rings or something like that more. But yeah, that would be the only thing. Other than that, you know, she runs nicely. She doesn't get too hot. Good water flow. There's no water getting into the oil or anything like that. So yeah, so I don't know. On the why she wouldn't start issue, if I bring you down here, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see, but the way this engine works is there's no electronics on it. It's entirely mechanical. And there is this thing here, which has got currently a bit of string attached to it because the cable broke. This here is basically the stop valve. So when I pull the T-bar handle out there, which hopefully you can see, that's what stops it, and basically that just pulls on this and stops it, and then when you want to start it, you let it go. It also functions as kind of like a choke. You can use this to do some magic and set the engine into kind of cold running, which makes it easier to start supposedly. Now, I don't know, or my working theory as to why the engine wouldn't start on those occasions is that was stuck, basically. Grease all over me. Probably because the cable eventually snapped about halfway through the season, and hence why I've got this kind of basic bit of string that runs out under the engine bay there to stop the engine with. And I have a feeling that what happened was it kind of got stuck in the off position. Now you'd think that would be the obvious thing to check, and I can't really argue against that, why I wouldn't just go and check that first. But yeah, I guess panic and lack of knowledge or whatever. So and I have a feeling that maybe that was stuck, even if it was just slightly in the off position. And as I started the engine and as I was turning it over and as I was fiddling with stuff, it kind of eventually worked itself loose and worked itself back into the on position, and that's why the engine would just not start. It would just be like it's dead, and then you play around, turn it over, and then all of a sudden it would work fine. That, in my mind, fits consistently with that problem. You know, anything else like a fuel issue, you know, that wouldn't just kind of go away and never come back. I mean, maybe it could blow through whatever's blockage, but unlikely. If it was an injector issue or something like that, or compression issue, again, it wouldn't just not start altogether and then start, you know, perfectly first time every time. So I'm working on that, and obviously if it ever happens again, that'll be the first thing I check, but hopefully it never happens again. So JC, yeah, give it another season. That's kind of where my head's at with it. Like I say, it did work so consistently that I don't see the reason of messing around with it too much, beyond obviously just doing the usual service on it. Yeah, because, and also, you know, it's such a pain in the arse. I'd have to get the engine lifted out, and that's quite expensive. You know, it's about 180 quid basically to take it out and put it back in, to hire the machine to do it. I'm always conscious of my incompetence, so, you know, if I end up stripping it apart, I could just end up with 2 broken engines rather than 1 functioning engine. But on the flip side of it, it's kind of such an eggs in one basket. You know, if I just leave it and then it's a pain in the arse and it breaks, then it could ruin the season again, and I'm still a bit shell shocked from the previous season that got ruined for that. So yeah, I don't know, it's a hard one, but I think in the end I'm probably just going to leave it and go with it. Am I looking for a winter project? I have plenty of winter projects. I'm kind of looking for the engine not to be a winter project, but yeah, might need to be. yeah, like I say, I really hope the main problem with this engine is my stupidity. That would be perfect, because, you know, I'm used to living and dealing with my stupidity. Mechanical issues with engines is not something I'm used to with. So while we're here, this has been drying out. It's actually getting pretty well dry, so I think I am going to just slap a bit of paint on it, which means we get to go for a little bit of an explore, because I need to go and get the paint from the van. Doesn't mean I'm going to have to wait until it's going to have to wait for the paint to dry, so we might have to find something else to do whilst we're waiting for that to dry a bit. Although I'm going to grab the new toilet actually and just check it fits before I do anything else. Yeah, Ginger, welcome Ginger. Yes, that's exactly, you've hit the nail on the head there with the, you know, if you don't have faith in your engine, it is just, yeah, it undermines the entire sort of thing. Yeah, I do feel like I got a lot better at the whole sailing bit of sailing. You know, we used to, on Salty, we would do our time on motor, partly because the Leisure 23 is not a great sailor, partly because we're not great sailors, but also we had this, you know, brand new, you know, beautiful Honda outboard that was just bomb proof. You know, it was, like I say, it was beautiful, brand new, ran like a clock, pushed her along nicely, and yeah, so I was basically spoiled a little bit by that, shall we say. And coming to this now, this 30-year-old sort of clunky diesel has meant that, and also with Hattrick being much nicer to sail and much better set up for sailing, you know, I do a lot more sailing now than motoring, which is obviously a good thing, but also means sorry, I'm losing track of my thought. But yeah, so I am getting better at the sailing lark. You know, more confident in sailing rather than motoring places, but obviously that's always reliant on the weather and the wind and all that sort of stuff, and obviously your engine is your kind of get out of jail free card, and it's nice to have a get out of jail free card sometimes. Okay, right, I'm going to switch so I can see my stream on the phone. Hopefully that isn't what buggered it up last time. Yes, Honda engines are amazing. I mean, I paid it was a 6 horsepower, which isn't huge. Brand new. I think I paid 1,200 quid. This was pre, you know, prices going mental. You know, not a lot. You know, you take it off the back every year, take it home, and you can work on it in the shed and you can walk all around it and stuff. Unlike an inboard where you have to hang upside down and contort yourself into places. Yeah, so I really do miss that engine. I may have said it before, but I reckon to put a new engine, like a brand new engine, I'm going to be somewhere into around the 10 grand mark, which, given I only paid 10 grand for the boat, seems a little bit excessive. Certainly not something I've got the money to do. So yeah, don't really want to do that, to be honest. But also can't stick an outboard on it, so kind of stuck. Right, what do we go? Should we go with? We'll go with grey. Sounds like there's some liquid in there. I do have some white as well, but I feel like grey might hide the dirt a bit. I might have any masking tape. That's the next question. This is my van full of crap, as you can probably tell. Oh, I had some masking tape somewhere to help me not make a complete mess. Yeah, these are all my boxes of random boaty stuff. Fiberglassing bag. It's a bag of random electronics. A bag of paints, a box of paints and stuff. Well, maybe I've got some on the boat somewhere. I'll tell you what we're going to do so that things keep moving forward is I'm going to go back to the boat. I'm going to paint that piece of wood. These gloves so I don't paint all over myself. Oh, there's some masking tape. I'm not sure how good it is, but we'll give it a go. Yeah, I'm going to take it back. We're going to paint that piece of wood, and then if you'd like, we'll go for a bit of a tour around the boatyard, because this place is incredible. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, so it's kind of a commercial breaker yard. So they do a lot of maintenance. Like I'm in a place called, or we're not far from a place called Faslane, which I'll show you when we go out. It is basically UK's nuclear missile submarine base. Joe was saying, "Welcome, brave." You were very brave this summer, Joe. You came a long way. We both did, I suppose, to be fair. But yeah, you in particular, Joe, did a wonderful job of increasing your bravery. In an episode, spoiler alert, but in an episode or two, you're going to see Joe's arrival, and we go on our first sort of trip from Ardvern, and yeah, it's a very rough crossing. It's quite the baptism of fire for Joe and Skylar, but fortunately by then I'd kind of figured myself out a little bit, so at least I wasn't panicking, so I could at least pretend that I wasn't scared. Okay, well, I've lost the one decent brush I had is all glued together and solid, so I'm not sure where the rest of my brushes are. Oh well, that'll do. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, we are just down the lock from Faslane, which is our Britain's main submarine base. So there's loads of military boats and police boats around here all the time. And this place services a lot of the police boats that, you know, they're like, you know, don't want to get political, but when you talk about government spending and budget cuts and all of the things over the last few years, hasn't reached this place. Some of the kit that they have up here is insane. Like, It's like you go and, you know, if there was a website that sold ribs, if you sorted from highest price to lowest and added every possible option, yeah, this is the boat you'd get. But yeah, anyway, they service all those boats here. There's lots of yachts, as you can probably tell around me, but also they actually break boats. So right now there's a massive, I'm guessing 150 foot long steel fishing boat that they are chopping up on the slipway. So yeah, it's definitely worth a wander around this Aladdin's cave of boat stuff. And look at this, like, as well. There's also all these, like, there's so many boats here just dying. Like, it always makes me think, like, are these people paying to store this boat here while it rots away for years on end, or have they just been abandoned? A shame though, because back in the day a lot of these would have been quite nice boats, I imagine. Right, here we are, back in. Okay, right, let me just go back to make sure this doesn't fail. Where can I see? Oh, there we go. Okay, just checking I can actually see all your comments. Right, right, let me get rid of this old toilet. I'm just gonna, if I put you upside down, is it gonna fix it? Let me just see. Hang on a minute. So my stream is a long way behind right now. I'm still over at the van in my world. There we go. I just want to see. Yeah, okay. So there's a lesson for you. The GoPro doesn't automatically switch itself upside down if I put you upside down. So I'll try not to do that again. Right, there we go. Right, let's get rid of this old one. Try not to dribble poo anywhere. Like magic. Here's a new one. Tim went to Australia, yes. Yes, we did look a bit like that. Yeah, the ones in the water, responding to boats dying in the water. Yeah, I mean that's really sad as well. Like, I mean, down at like Campbelltown or most marinas, I guess, there's quite a few boats just rotting away on the pontoon, and it's, I mean, again, like, I don't know if it's people that abandoned them and they haven't got around to getting rid of them yet, but I keep going to these places where, you know, I can't afford to keep my boat there even if I'm using it, and yet you got people who, like, seemingly have left the boat to rot there for what must be years by the amount of growth on them. And I'm just like, you paying like 200 quid a month to just let your boat rot here, or are you just like done a runner and left it and they haven't bothered to pull it out yet? But yeah, it's sad. I mean, obviously as well, it's, you know, potentially not great for the environment if you know, if you've got boats that are, you know, rotting away into the sea essentially, particularly if they've not been kind of cleaned up and everything. Right, so we're going to test. Oh no, wrong one. Let me see if I can. I'm going to just test fit this new toilet and just check that the holes are the same. I'm hoping they are. Yeah, I'm hoping the fittings are the same for this. Please God, they look close. They have to be the same, right? This can't be a coincidence that you made them. No, they're not the same. Okay. Well, shit. Excuse my language. Yeah, same pattern, but not the same. Okay. So, question. in theory, I could make this work. Let's show you what I'm looking at. So there's one of the bolts. Should be going to that hole, and then the other ones are underneath. So if it was too much to ask that they would be the same. Question then. Yeah, thank you, Jay. I appreciate you knew that. Don't. Yeah, my optimism has already been crushed. Doesn't need more help. I mean, is it that far fetched to think? Well, yeah, of course it is in this world to think that they would make it easy. Okay, so options wise is fit it to that existing piece of wood, which it probably would. I could probably just put some decent solid sort of screws down through this, but better option by far would be to make a new piece. Yeah, which is probably not a bad idea. That would certainly be the better. I do have some eco ply here, which would make quite a nice base for it. Okay, well, let's see what hell exists underneath this, shall we? And then we can decide from there. Because hopefully I'm only going to do this once and never have to do it again, so let's try and at least partially do a decent job of it, I guess. Try and plug the GoPro in, because the battery is not going to last long on this GoPro if I don't. Right, so let's get rid of that. Kind of scupper the plan of going off exploring whilst we wait for the paint to dry there. So how tight are these? That's not too bad. Definitely going to need something better than that rubbish screwdriver though. Yeah, so my plan was we'd go for an explore whilst I was letting the paint dry. Well, I'm northwest of Glasgow. Yes, we are, yeah, just across from Helensburgh, basically. If you want to Google where we are, at RB Marine. Yeah, Jo is in Wales. She's busy working and making videos and doing all that kind of stuff. Plus it's pretty cold and miserable up here, and I'm looking for my tools. Yeah, it's pretty cold and miserable up here. There's not really that much in the way of like 2 people jobs to do up here at the moment. It's all kind of 1-person jobs, and so forcing Jo to come up here in the cold and misery is kind of not really worthwhile. And having Skylar with us means that, you know, we've got to carry her up and down ladders, and it's awkward for her, and she'll end up just spending most of her time sat in the car doing nothing, which isn't fun for her. What the hell? Oh, that's not what I thought. Yeah, so it's just basically, yeah, it's just not worth Jo and Skylar coming up here at the moment, unfortunately. So I've come up on my own. That's the bit I'm looking for. Jo is actually working. I'm not sure. Maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. But Jo is, as well as a sailing. Oh Jesus, that's tight. Being a sailing expert and sailing filmmaker, she's also a photographer. and you probably got from if you've watched any of our videos. And she started a new channel about a year ago, because basically this channel used to be Joe's photography channel, and then he made a few sailing videos on it, and I kind of ended up hijacking the video, hijacking the channel, sorry, and turning it into a sailing channel. So Joe started a new photography channel, which I haven't taken over yet, where she's mainly doing wildlife photography, and really good stuff actually. It's worth a watch if you have any interest in wildlife. And there are a few videos on there from our trip this year where she went on sort of wildlife excursions. And right now Joe is working on a project to turn our garden into a photo of wildlife photographers paradise, basically, into a bit of a kind of a nature reserve. She can then hopefully get lots of photos of nice animals in, or nice animals and birds and things. Holy crap, that does not want to come out. So yeah, so that's what Joe's doing right now in Wales. So who wants to bet what we're going to find underneath here? So options wise, could just be a bit of fiberglass with just some holes in it for these screws. Option 2 could be there's actually a big hole in the fiberglass under here from some previous use. God knows what might be under that hole. A load of grime and misery, I guess. Oh yeah, good idea, Joe. Put your it's just called Joe Hurd, but yeah, put your if you're still watching, Joe, put your link for your video for your channel in there. Like I say, there's a couple of videos on there. There's one where we were at Auersee, I think. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but we went out on the dinghy because there was loads of seals, and so we went out in the dinghy to try and take photos and film the seals, and yeah, that was a very challenging experience. It turns out that doing kind of long range photography from a tiny dinghy that's bouncing up and down in the waves is well probably about as difficult as it sounds. But we kind of didn't quite anticipate how difficult that was going to be, but still made for an interesting one. Got some nice shots. Okay, that's 3 out. This last one is a real pain. I love having a boat. You get to basically see all of the way that previous owners bodged everything, whilst simultaneously bodging everything yourself, and hoping that you won't be the person who has to deal with that next. Right. Oh, Jesus. It's a bit... that is not wanting to turn. It would help if I had a bigger screwdriver, but something I don't have. Oh, shite. Balls, that is not going to behave. I get it if I go sideways onto it. Yeah, yes, it does feel like renting a boat rather than owning it most of the time. Certainly in terms of the expense. Have a look if I've got any better. What I really need to get is a giant flathead screwdriver. Constantly find myself doing jobs that I don't have a big enough flathead screwdriver for it. What's that like? Yeah, for them to do the repairs for the next renter. I mean, there is like a definite reality of that, in that like all of the work, one of the things you find with boats is like, it doesn't, whatever you spend on a boat, you don't get it back. Like, you know, like I was talking earlier about the engine here. If I put let's say I went, you know what, to hell with it, I'm gonna spend 10 grand and I'm gonna put a brand new engine in it. you know, professionally installed, you know, beautiful kind of thing, and then I put the boat up for sale, the boat isn't going to be worth 10 grand more because it's got that brand new engine. If I'm lucky, it'll be worth a grand or two more. But it's just like, so, you know, it feels like doing charity work for the next owner of the boat, basically. I'm just spending all this money, and then the next owner will come along and go, yeah, it's still worth the same as when you bought it. Yeah, hole in the water that you pour money into. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this. This screw is pretty mangled, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get it out. Not with the tools I've got anyway. So what I'm thinking is, okay, it doesn't look too bad under there. I'm just basically going to commit to replacing this piece of wood. It's pretty manky anyway, and pretty rotten, so I should just be able to either snap the wood around the bolt or just pull it through this very rotten piece of wood, and then we will commit to replacing it with something else. Oh, the sound of boat maintenance. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty manky. Like the little shims underneath it as well. And now that we've got that out like that, in theory these big old pliers should be able to get it out. Not sure why this is so tight. Wait. No, because that's a machine screw. That's not a. That's, all the others were just screwed into the fiberglass, but this one is a bolt. Jesus, it's like attached to the keel or something. Well, I'm not going to be using the same hole for this, that's for sure. I'm guessing this is corroded into whatever, the captain nut or whatever in there. No wonder I wasn't getting that out. Bad feeling I've just separated out the connect. I know. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Yeah, bigger pliers and a hammer, 100%. Yeah, like all the rest were just screwed into the fiberglass, and then that one's thing, which I'm pretty sure I've just snapped the bolt rather than undo it. But anyway, right. It's not too bad under there. If I pretend that brown is just stain off the wood, then practically clean. What the hell is that? It's good with some dried on brown stuff under there, isn't it? Okay, right. So, next thing we need to do, let that soak for a bit, is make a new base. Can I mount it directly to the plinth? No. The basically overhang, the toilet base is way too big for that. So save these bolts there. We're going to have to make a new plinth for it, a new adapter. Hopefully that's not too loud for you. Using my custom hammer, which is kind of silly because actually no, I don't have a hammer. I thought I had a hammer there. So yeah, if I grab the toilet now, we can have a look and see the issue. So, hold that on there. Yeah, you can see there's one mounting hole, there's one. I mean, it just, but this overhang is slightly concerning, I guess. And I think it would be better to kind of mount it more central, which does mean I've got a bit of figuring out to do. So a tape measure. Let's see what we're working with. So the holes are 24. That's 26. 30, so if we were to make something that was 32 long by probably 32 by 20, the new throne, yes. Look how smooth that is. Probably doesn't work, but it's super smooth. Also, I didn't actually say why I'm changing the toilet is on the old one, there's actually a crack in, I think it's plastic, the rim, whereas this one's actually porcelain. There was like a crack in here, so every time you pump the water in, it would spray out the top of there and go everywhere. So yeah, not great. Generally don't want anything to do with the toilet. You don't want anything to do with the outside water or the toilet water ending up inside the boat. I think that's a good rule to go for. Right, so let me just double check that measurement. 32 should be wide enough to give me enough overhang, but not too wide that it's going to interfere with this or this. And then the holes are about 10 wide, so if we were to go to 20, that would give us more than enough of a base. Right, so let's nip outside and see what we've got to make a base out of. Right, so what I do have is that, which is a bit of 22, 24 mil, 19 mil. I don't know, it's eco ply. Now that is a lot thicker than the previous bit of plywood that I just took off it, but it's also, the eco ply is very strong. You know, I've got it, basically all of our floorboards are made of eco ply. Our benches, these benches are made of it, which is the same stuff, and it's probably it's similar in some respects to sort of the strength of plywood, but the only thing about it is because it's plastic, it is a bit softer, so you can find that you can kind of pull through it more easily. Like if you can screw into it, it works really well for that. But if you if you have anything where it's really like pulling on it or it's wiggling on it, it will open up the hole and end up pulling out the screw. That's come out where our autopilot, there's like a little hole in the seat where the back side of the autopilot slots into, and over the season of it kind of pushing pressure on it to do the rudder, it's widened out that hole. So it's not perfect, but now my concern with using it for this is that you know, if you're wiggling about on the seat or you're constantly moving, you've got that weight that it could end up pulling through. But well, I mean, it's all I've got for a start, but it's also, I think, not going to be too bad to use. Right, so I need to go and get, I think if I use the thicker stuff as well, it'd probably be better. Here's the old toilet. Oh, actually, what I'm talking about, the old toilet is porcelain. But yeah, here somebody's had a pretty solid sit down, shall we say, and broken it. So yeah, it would end up pumping water into the boat, which ain't very nice. Oh, by the way, I'll just say it now. I know it happened before, just in case anyone's here that wasn't in it before. I'm kind of testing out the technology today. It's all being done via a GoPro and mobile phone. So, as with all technology, it's not perfect. So if it does disconnect, I will come back, but it might be on a new stream. That's what happened last night. I can't seem to figure out through the GoPro app, at least not right now, how to yeah, basically how to start the same stream again, shall we say. So just bear that in mind. If it suddenly disappears, go to the our YouTube channel, maybe subscribe if you haven't, and then yeah, the new stream will pop up in a minute or so after I get shut down. To show this, how the other half live. Stainless steel chain. They haven't got the stainless steel anchor though, so they're only pretending, but oof, to have that kind of money. Oof, to have that kind of money. Right, you can see this thing as well. It is fibre, I thought it was metal to start. They have some really fascinating boats, and I hate to think how old that thing is. But quite an impressive little thing. Right, let's go and get the jigsaw. Oh, I hope I brought the jigsaw. We go and we will go and have a tour of the yard a bit, but see if I can get across here without getting too wet. I'll show you the view from the hill. Oh my god, found a bog to walk across. Oh, here we go. So this is the lower yard, and that's the Gare Lock. What the hell, there's a giant boat out there. Not sure what that's doing, that wasn't there yesterday. But we were just over there last few years, down in the pit as they call it, but now we're in the upper car park. As you can see, a lot of boats. As I say, we'll go for a walk in a bit. But can't keep getting distracted. We actually have to try and do some work. Okay. It used to be an old refueling station. A big pier here was for, I assume it was for everything, but military boats and things like that used to come in here. So where we're stood right now, there were in massive diesel silos or tanks or whatever. The pit there is basically like a big hole they dug in case these tanks ever split. It would capture all the diesel before it ended up in the sea. At least that was the theory. Right, what did I come here for? Oh yeah, something to be able to cut the eco ply with. I think, yes, I did bring my jigsaw. Look at that. Actually prepared for once. And I got some blades in there. Do I need anything else to cut this? I don't remember what I said the dimension was. Was it 32 by 20? 32 by 20, does that sound right? I guess we'll double check the measurement again. Yeah, I was so gutted. I got here, say late, well, 7 o'clock-ish the other night. It was so dark and it was so cold, and I was like, where we used to be, it was kind of hard to get the van close because we were always behind a few boats. But I was thinking, oh well, in the top car, but they never fill it, so I'll be able to park right in front of the boat and unload easily. And then I got here and found like this jamboree going on, and it was quite depressing. Walking back and forth with all of the cushions and bedding and food and electronics and everything. Yeah, pretty miserable. Why don't you move your coat close to Joe's shop, like around Liverpool? Good question. One we get asked a lot, pretty much every time I meet anyone up here, and they say, "Oh, where are you from?" And you go, "Wales." And they go, "What?" And you go, "Yeah, it's only 6 hours away." And they're like, "Well, why don't you move your boat down there?" There's a pretty simple answer to that, which is that you know, the west coast of Scotland is arguably one of the best cruising grounds in the world. Now, don't get me wrong, if I lived in the Caribbean or the Maldives or somewhere like that, or Greek islands or somewhere like that, then I wouldn't think that was too shabby. But yeah, like I say, the west coast of Scotland, in terms of the UK, is one of the most beautiful sailing places you can have. It's also you know, just an absolutely amazing place to learn and develop your experience and things like that, because it's so changeable, the coastline. You know, you have so many different locks and lakes and islands and inlets, and just you know take a moment at some point, if you've not done it before, I'm sure you have, but have a look at the west coast of Scotland. It is just the most interesting coastline you can imagine. And you know, when you're starting out and when you don't have a huge amount of time for sailing, I mean, if I could go for like a day sail here and there, you know, it'd probably be a slightly different conversation, but because we tend to, and we want to do these kind of longer trips, it means, like, you know, months ahead I have to decide when am I going to go sailing. And obviously with the British weather, you can't always rely that the period you've chosen to go sailing a few months in advance is going to be saleable. Now up here, because you've got, you know, we're in the Clyde right now, which is kind of this big sheltered massive kind of area behind the Mulligan Tyre. You know, although it can get pretty rough and horrible up here, you know, it is an open ocean. It's not going to, you know, you're never going to get this sort of massive storm. So even if the weather is pretty crappy in the period we've chosen, we know up here we can get out on the boat and we can go and explore some places and we can do some stuff. You know, we may end up tucked up in the locks hiding away for the whole trip, but we will at least get out on the boat. If I was to move the boat down to Anglesey, would be the obvious choice. Anglesey is a little island on the north of Wales. You know, there's a fair bit of sailing stuff there. Place you can keep the boat there, or you know, or something like Liverpool or Preston, like those kind of areas. The moment you leave port there, you're out into the Irish Sea. That's it. That's your only option. There's no, you know, there's no like locks or lakes or anywhere that you can explore. It's just, you know, out past the breakwater into the Irish Sea. Now, particularly, you know, with our level of experience, things like that, there's going to be probably more days than not, where we can't sail in the Irish Sea than where we can. And so, although, you know, the boat would only be, say, an hour and a half, 2 hours from where I live, if it was on Anglesey, for example, whereas this is 6 hours, you know, the 6 hour drive here is not too difficult. I mean, it's not a short drive, but it is, you know, it's an easy drive. It's just straight up one motorway pretty much. And once that's done, we are straight out into one of the best cruising locations in the world. And so it feels like, you know, it's a compromise, but it feels like a good compromise to have it here, where we can basically experience and enjoy the, you know, the sailing round here, whilst, you know, yeah, anyway. But the downside of it is that you know, it does get is actually not the sailing. You know, if you're coming up for, you know, a few weeks of sailing, a 6 hour drive is nothing. It's actually these maintenance trips that are the harder thing. You know, one thing that would be lovely is to be able to you know, jump on the you know, have a nice evening or have a bit of time on a day off or something, and just, you know, nip over to the boat and do a few hours work on it. That's obviously not possible when it's 6 hours away. I felt that most acutely, I think, during COVID. You know, we just kind of got a boat at that point, and, you know, had this kind of year sat twiddling my thumbs essentially. And had I have been able to access the boat, obviously that would have been a great opportunity to work on the boat and do stuff on the boat. But yeah, I couldn't travel 6 hours to come up to the boat, and if it was closed up here. So, but yeah, so that's the short answer. I don't live here, by the way, like, just in case, because you were sort of saying why don't I'll move close to Joe's shop. Like that's what people said. Yeah, like I say, it's not like I live up here and Joe lives down there. We both live in Wales on the boat. But yeah, hang on, just sorry, turn up the thing. Yeah, so anyway, that's the main reason. Right, I'm gonna go and so I don't end up climbing up and down this ladder with loads of stuff in my hand and probably spannering myself. I'm going to go and put the camera down here, and then we'll get this jigsaw set up. We'll cut this piece. Oh. Let me put that in there. Put that down there. Right, how are we gonna do this? I'm gonna put you onto this here. Remember, I can't put you upside down. I can do this. Sorry if I'm manhandling you. Okay. Hang my phone up there. Right, I'll be back in a second until I get the stuff down. You know what, actually, found myself a smaller piece, so I'll save putting up the big piece for later. One thing I don't really have is a ruler. Oh, are you in this area, are you, Bob? Which yacht club? You don't have to give us your exact postcode, but which yacht club are you near? Yeah, I mean that's on that point. Like, you know, our dream someday maybe is to move up here, or win the lottery and move to, I don't know, the Maldives or something. But yeah, I mean, it'd be lovely, you know, to live in this area, to you know, have access to the boat more often and stuff like that. But oh, you're in Texas. Yeah, that's a little bit of a commute to Scotland. Yeah, I suppose Texas does have a lot of coastline. I always think of Texas as like desert and cactuses, but I suppose you have both because it's quite a big thing, isn't it? I like that you put US on there, just in case. I was thinking of another Texas. Is there another Texas? I imagine there probably is there's a Texas somewhere, but I imagine also most people, if you said Texas, would think of the Texas in the US of A. Any of these any of these bits got teeth left on them? But yeah, I imagine you get some nice sailing down there, because obviously, although it's still a long way, you're kind of in the global ballpark of the Caribbean. But you also get like hurricanes and, well, not hurricanes, tornadoes, I guess, and cyclones, which, touch wood, so far at the moment we don't get here. Okay, good, that works. Right, let me put you in a better position so you can see what I'm doing. So America would be, I guess you're behind, so is it morning for you now? Oh, are you behind or ahead? You're behind, so yeah, it must be maybe like 9 hours behind us here. Hopefully, but I don't know what time it is here, so no, I'm guessing it's fairly early morning for you there. Man. Annoying little. Right. Yeah, 10 to 9. Okay. Oh, I wasn't too far there. The Gulf of Mexico is some of the worst. Okay, large coastline, a lot of lakes. Okay. Why is it bad? Just weather-wise, or? I don't know what I did to this piece, but there is not a single straight edge on this. Maybe I will use the bigger piece. The good thing about this stuff, it's so easy to mark. No, I bought a van full of tools, but it doesn't matter what you bring, you never have the right things. I don't have a long edge. Weather and oil platforms. Oh, you've got like the bases of oil platforms sticking out of the sea or just under them. Well, yeah, that doesn't sound too fun. It's going to make for a nerve-wracking sailing experience. Nothing straight around it. Well, typical, I either have something that's way too short or I have something that's way too long, so we'll go with way too long. Yeah, it's one of the things that worries me. Like, you know, obviously this area is very well charted, so it's not that difficult to find your way around. You know, there's even like the Antares charts, which I always used to call the Antilles charts. Wait, now I'm confused as to whether it's Antares or Antilles. They're basically a set of just charts that were made by, well, not enthusiastic amateur because you just charge for them. But yeah, not by, you know, one of the big Admiralty or anything like that. This guy's basically going around documenting anchorages and in great detail, and yeah, they're great. If you're ever cruising in this area, I always say my number one tip to you would be get these charts. They're only 20 quid for the year, and in the world of sailing, that's practically free. Yeah, and they're just really good. But anyway, so yeah, it's really well documented. But obviously, you know, if there's a shipping container in the water, or there's a submerged sunken boat, or even a log or something, then you know that's not going to be on the charts. Yeah, that would always be pretty terrifying. Yeah, big ships as well. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing we don't deal with too much here. There's the big Navy ships that come and go, and the submarines, which is quite interesting. Yeah, it's always interesting when you're being chased down by a submarine. But yeah, I mean, you don't get that many, you know, certainly not anything you'd be that worried about. But yeah, I guess if you live near a giant container port, I imagine yeah, constant boats coming and going could add a lot of stress to the sailing. We've all seen those YouTube videos of the people getting run over by boats or having near misses with boats. Okay, right, now I need to find something I can rest this on. Let me see if I can steal someone's ladder. You know what we're going to do? We're going to move over here. Then this wire to get earlier. Put it through the ladder so I'll trip on it later. Yeah, it is really lovely sailing around here. You know, it's like I say, we're so lucky to have this, you know, relatively on the doorstep. I mean, I know 6 hours isn't nothing, but you know, it isn't days and days of travelling like which it would be if I lived somewhere else, I guess. So yeah, I do feel very privileged to have this on our doorstep. You know, and it was falling in love with this area that kind of led us to wanting to get a boat in the first place, really. Just trying to get your position so you can see. We're going to use the floor for this. Although we were saying nice things about Scotland, and now it's starting to rain, just to put us in our place and remind us. They're not equal. I thought they were going to be even, but apparently not. Apparently not. That way around. Slightly less awkwardly. Yeah, it's I mean, there's places up here where it is just ludicrously like picturesque and beautiful. Like, you know, there's certain place you go and it's like, it's almost silly how picturesque and beautiful it is, particularly on a nice day. Right, anyway, I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear me while I do this. there we go. And if I hold it at a distance and wiggle it around, kind of looks like it's a straight cut. At least for you guys. Right, now I just need to cut it to length. It's going to be 30 by 22. Look at that. Practically where I meant to put it. What do I do with my what do I do with my cutter? Not better. Marker. Unfortunately, this one I do actually have a thing, a straight edge. 30 centimeters. I can hide under here from the rain. There's the mark. Got it? Not it. RDA, did RDM here? It's RB, sorry. If you mean here, basically, I mean, most places seem to do the same thing, which is you charge by the season, be that the winter season or the the winter season or the summer season. But I can tell you for a fact that you can leave them here. Yeah, I've had, this boat was on the hard here for a year straight with the engine problems of the previous year. And yeah, they just basically, you just get charged for 2 sessions basically. Why does that not look like it's lining up? I measured something wrong here. No, that's right. Maybe it's just my eyes are cockeyed. Yeah, so yeah, basically they do it in stints, and obviously if you're going to keep it on the hard for a year, it does feel a little bit expensive because everything's expensive, but obviously like your winter storage includes your lift in and out, and if you keep it here for a whole year on the hard, then you're kind of going to only get lifted in and out once, so it's kind of, you're paying for a lift in and out that you don't use. But that being said, yes, it's a lot cheaper here than anywhere else I've seen. To give context, I pay about if I was to keep it on the hard all year, sorry, it would be about £2,000 for the year. That would include my lift in and out, it includes the rental of the cradle and all that. So it's about £1,000 for 6 months for a 30-foot boat. If you, obviously last year we went in for 6 months, so I only paid for the winter storage here last year. But I kept her at Ardvern for 3 months, and that was over £1,000. If I wanted to keep it over the other side of the river is Rue Marina in Helensburgh. I think it's over £3,000 to keep it there for the year. Basically on a mooring in the summer and on the hard in the winter. That's pretty similar to a lot of other boatyards I've looked at, like the posher ones. This is not a posh boatyard, like you say. Rough and Ready is the name of the game here. So yeah, so it's, you know, it's significantly cheaper than a lot of other places. Also, you know, they're a really great bunch here, you know, like, you know, so you ain't going to get posh showers and toilets and things like that, but you do get some really knowledgeable guys who, you know, they deal with stuff way beyond these kind of pleasure boats, and they really know their stuff. They've got every bit of equipment you could need here, and they're also pretty reasonable. Like, you know, when I didn't get my boat lifted out last year, I wanted it kind of repositioned, because it was sort of sat out on a bit of a weird angle, which was what caused the flooding a year or so back. You know, so I just said to them, I'm not getting lifted out this year, so in exchange, can you come and lift it and re-site it, basically? Which, you know, arguably it's their kind of job, because they're the ones who put it down, but I said it was okay in the position they put it in. So yeah, they're pretty decent. Yeah, I know what you mean about posh boat. I mean, that's the other thing, like, you know, you can do whatever jobs you like here. It's a real rough and ready yard. They're not particularly pernickety about stuff. It's already massively contaminated land, so they don't really, not too worried about that side of it. It's not like this is a pristine nature reserve, like this was an old diesel fuel area, so, you know, you want to do painting and sanding and stuff like that. Plus, you know, I know at some boatyard, you know, marinas, it's like, you know, you pull out a sander and you're chased out of town kind of thing, and, you know, you can't make any noise, and that just doesn't work when you're trying to do maintenance. So yeah, it's pretty good. Right, let me cut this. That way we can carry on talking, and I will answer your question about what I do after I've done this. So yeah, just to finish off doing your boat, yeah, if you're in the area, you're looking for a cheap, reasonable place to keep your boat, then you won't go very far. It is quite busy here. I know that they've, last year they made a really big effort to cut down on the number of boats that they were having in the yard, just because, as you can see right now, if I wanted to get out soon, they'd have to move about 20 boats to get me out, and obviously that becomes a pain in the arse. And all it takes is, you know, driving into one boat whilst you're trying to move another boat, and your profits for the year are probably going to go on paying for that. Let's see if this thing fits. Yeah, so, you know, it can be more difficult to get in here than it used to be, but yeah, it's still entirely feasible. Right, let's go back inside. So yeah, what do I do? So I run a downhill mountain bike park, basically. Me and my brother set it up 2011 on a little bit of a hill in the wilds of Wales. It's called Revolution Bike Park. Also have a YouTube channel there if you want to see me talking about other stuff and doing some other stuff. But if you're not into mountain biking, it's probably not that much interest to you. Yeah, so it's in a little village out in the middle of Wales. It's focused on downhill, so it's the more extreme end of mountain biking. You know, big jump lines and all that sort of stuff. And we have, I'm just plugging the camera in so we don't lose power. Yeah, we do what we call an uplift. So basically, one of these places, think like kind of like downhill skiing, where they, you know, they have chairlifts and gondolas, but we have old ropey Land Rovers that you pop your bike onto a trailer, jump in, and we take you to the top of the hill, so you can just throw yourself down the crazy bike track. So yeah, so I run that with my brother. So I spend most of my time looking after people there. patching people up when they fall off, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, so you know, that's what I do for a living. Which is another reason why I can't really move up to here, because, as I say, unfortunately, moving a mountain bike park is not something that's that easy to do. Also means it takes up a huge amount of my time, so yeah, I don't get maybe as much time. You know, when anyone who knows, who runs their own small business, you know what it's like. In theory, you can have whatever time off you want, and in practice, you get no time off because you're constantly having to run a business. But yeah, obviously, yeah, it's quite an interesting business. But there's kind of a crossover with the boat and the boat story, which, say, if you've been watching for a while, you might have remember, like, we a while back started the or restarted this channel, essentially turning it into a sailing channel, and we'd had Salty, which was our old boat, the Leisure 23. We had her for about 3 years or so, and you know, we did really well with her. You know, we went round the Mullican Tyre on a Leisure 23 at 1 in the morning. Oop. What's gone on there? Am I still live? Because my tablet's just pooped itself. Yeah, we took, you know, a Leisure 23 is, you know, it's a 23-foot boat. It's a very small boat. It's the kind of boat designed for, you know, a bit of weekend sailing, a bit of day sailing. You know, we kind of really pushed it and went, you know, much further than most people would consider going on one of those. You know, took it around the Mullican Tyre, went all the way up to the Isle of Mull. Yeah, and you know, but we kind of, you know, we're getting to the end of, so I'm just loading up the stream so I can actually see what's going on. Yeah, we got to the end of kind of the last year. Yeah, and you know, we knew that we couldn't go much further with what we with a. God, that is tight in there. Yeah, we knew we couldn't go much further with a Leisure 23, so we started to think about, you know, getting a new boat. And you know what it's sort of like. Well, anyone who's bought boats knows that, like, yeah, the moment you start thinking about getting a new boat, like, suddenly your existing boat is just not, you know, is never going to be up to speed again. And the plan was that we would take our time and you know, sell Salty basically, and once we'd sold Salty, we'd then start looking for a new boat. Obviously, however, at some point we decided, oh well, you know, we'll have a look around and see what's out there boat wise and things like that, which is always I think a terrible thing to do, because you start to romanticize and dream about getting a new boat and what that boat will be. And you know, we were thinking, we love the Moody's. They are, I think, really, really nice boats, but they tend to be a bit bigger and more expensive than we can afford. And I came across the ETAP. I was actually originally looking at the 28, and the 28, they have like a really interesting layout where, you know, this boat has a kind of traditional one where you've got, you know, the V-berth up front, you've got a little cabin toilet thing in the middle, and then you've got sort of a two-sided main cabin area with table in the middle there. This is what I would say is a traditional layout of the sort of 70s, 80s era. The 28i, at least, has kind of like a little V-berth, but it's more of like a cubby type thing. Like, it's not like a room like this, it's just kind of a hole in the front, and then it has this really big kind of U-shaped seating area that comes up to kind of where I am now, with windows on the ceiling, and I thought that was really nice. And it's got a cabin at the back and a toilet at the back, and it was really, really well laid out, and sort of started to set our mind on that. I don't know if these are glued in or what, but they do not want to come out. And yeah, and I think I can't remember what I asked about. Maybe it was on a video, I can't remember. But anyway, somewhere I said about thinking about getting one of these. I think I joined the ETAP Facebook group, and was asking a few questions on there and saying that we were potentially interested in that. And somebody said, I can't remember, obviously can't remember who it was, but you know, someone said, consider the ETAP 30 if you're looking for from what I was saying, because basically what he was saying was, you know, they're essentially the same boat. The layout isn't quite as nice as. Sorry if that's really loud and annoying. And if the fact that I'm using a pair of pliers to do that is really annoying. Yeah, I think you're right, the wood swelled up and like clamped onto it. Yeah, and they said, you know, consider it because A, it's, you know, structurally it's essentially the same boat. Sorry, they do an ETAP 30i or S, like the new version of it, which has a similar layout with the U-shaped seating area. And yeah, they said, you know, consider the older ETAP 30s because A, you know, they're really good boats. They're structurally kind of made similar to the newer ones, but you know, they're basically a lot cheaper than the newer ones. And so we started looking into it and realised that, you know, you could pick up one of these. They range from about 10, which is what the lower end that we got this one at, up to about 20-ish for one that is the old boat, yeah. Up to about sort of 20. I think the most expensive one I saw was about 25. Now whether they got to 25 or not was a question. But that one was, you know, immaculate, like, you know, absolutely pristine, really fully modernised, you know. So that's your kind of price range for one of these boats. And so I did ask around on the group and said, you know, is there anyone in this area that has one that maybe at some point wouldn't mind us, you know, coming and having a snoop around, essentially, just so we can see what it looks like in the flesh. And there were a couple. There was one over at Kip Marina, I think, who said, yeah, we've got a 28, you can come and have a look if you fancy it. And then fatally, Adam, I think it was, apologies, I know he sometimes watches the video, so apologies Adam if it's not Adam. A guy messaged me and said, well, I've got an ETAP 30 at Holy Lock, which is only a couple of miles down the lock from here, and I'm planning on selling it this winter. Would you be interested? Now, this kind of shot everything, shot our plans a little bit, because as I say, the plan was get through the end of the season, get Salty for sale, sell her off, and yeah, and then start looking for a new boat to avoid the obvious problem of, you know, having two boats that you've got to pay to store at the same time. But we went to see it. You know, I always say, like, never go and see puppies unless you're planning on getting a dog, because seeing puppies is not going to put you off the idea of getting a dog, unless you're some weirdo who thinks puppies are horrible. And likewise, going to see a boat and going out on a trip on it and imagining all of the things we could do on it, you know, is not the way to think rationally and avoid spending a load of money on a boat. So, long and the short of it, we ended up buying the boat and ending up with two boats. Now, where I started all this conversation about the bike park was we went through a bit of problems with the bike park. It's in a forest, or it was in a forest, and a couple of years back we managed to get ourselves a tree disease, which, although it doesn't actually harm the trees, it does, yeah, it basically means the government tells you to cut the forest down and get rid of them. So in a very short space of time we went from a very thriving, popular bike park, employing 20 odd people, you know, building up to hopefully a fairly nice kind of long-term business, to being shut down and having the forest destroyed. And yeah, so you know, it was devastating. Obviously, financially, lost our jobs, essentially, lost our business, lost our income, lost everything, and all of this happened the exact same day that I was scheduled to buy this boat. And yeah, so I faced this kind of quandary of, well, you know, I've lost my job, lost my income, lost everything. The last thing I should be doing right now is buying a sailing boat. But I was on the flip side of that. I was basically like, I'm in a really bad place with life and everything, and maybe I need to maybe buying a boat would be the kind of thing I needed. Not necessarily the thing I should do, but maybe the thing I needed to do. And so, and we'd already I hadn't bought it. I could have welched on the deal at that point, but and I could have just walked away. I hadn't paid a deposit or anything, but we had agreed it, signed it. Literally, I say it was the day I was going to collect the boat and give him the money. It was pretty much the day we announced that we'd close. And you know, it was a kind of heart over head idea, and I just went, oh, you know what? I wasn't taking out a loan or debt or anything. You know, I had the money to hand. I'm like, oh, to hell with it. I need to do it, because if I don't, then life is just going to be all about misery and losing business and all that. At least this is kind of a silver lining of something to look forward to and put my heart into a little bit. So yeah, so I ended up going to hell with it, bought it, and yeah, that's kind of where we are now. The bike park is back up and running. We have no trees. It's the hill's been cleared. So if you do want to, if you have any interest in this stuff, not saying you would, but we have a channel, Revolution Bike Park, which tells all the story. So yeah, yeah. So that's kind of how we ended up buying it, basically. One day, but you've got a year-round. So this is the kind of thing. You've got a year-round mooring in Holy Lock, which cost you £800 to buy. Like, I'm aware that these kind of things exist, but I have never, whenever I've looked into it, been able to find such a thing. Like I don't get how the whole mooring things work. Like I say, I can go here and pay him £1,000 for 6 months on a mooring, or a boatyard, or a marina, sorry. I get that there are kind of, you can kind of get licenses to put down moorings, and obviously you can pay to get your own mooring put down, but I don't know how that works. If I'm honest with you, like, that doesn't. Whenever I look into it, you know, people are always like, oh, you can get a mooring here for, you know, 6 bob and two shillings or whatever. And then I look into it and it's like, oh, it's £2,000 a month, and you can only use it for an hour a day. But yeah, so yeah, like I said earlier, I am looking for options for other places to keep the boat, particularly over the summer period when I have to go back to work. So if anyone knows of anywhere that has moorings available, let me know. I know my window's leaking. Okay, right, so I need to go, I think, and get my bolt collection, or my nuts and bolts collection, because I think we're ready. That should mount okay onto there. I am kind of part thinking, you know, the ideal I think would be to go, if I've got some screws that are long enough, I don't know, maybe I should just screw this down first, and but then how do I connect? So if I put these bolts back through in the right place, I need to captive bolt them, and I am just a bit worried about these aren't going to be long enough even if I captive bolt them. Alright, we're going to have to go for another trip to the car, I think. I thought I bought my bolt collection in, but apparently not. Oh god, my knees have been, shouldn't be kneeling down so much. Yeah, but like I say, there's a rough and ready place to keep your boat. You won't go far wrong with this place. Plus, every Friday, Craig, the owner, makes breakfast for everyone. So there's always sausage and bacon sandwiches and eggs and all sorts every Friday, which I always seem to miss it because I'm never here on a Friday, but or I'm always asleep too long. Now it's got dark. What time is it? It's only 3:30. It's just gone overcast. Man, it'd be nice if I could have my van right next to the boat, but needs must. Splinter in my finger from something. Odd, because I haven't even been working with any wood. Right, where is my bolt collection? I definitely brought it. Aha. Here is my bolt collection. Do I need anything else while I'm here? I'm going to get my silicon gun because I feel there might be some siliconing in our future. See, you wait 90 seconds in Scotland, it stops raining. In another 90 seconds it will probably start raining again. See this boat, this northern wind here behind me. I'm sure we saw that when we were out sailing last year. Rings a bell. Joe, if you're still watching, am I making that up, or did we actually see that out last year? She should be watching, but she'll probably not be paying attention. Hello. See that? There's a propeller that caused so much drama. Actually, while we're down here, another quick question for you all. Let me turn the light on so you can see maybe. Do you think I should change this anode this year? Like, there's a lot left of it. It's not a massive job to change. It does mean taking off the propeller. Even the last time I did that, it led to me trapped for 3 days on anchor. I don't know, kind of nervous to play with it. But do you reckon that's got enough meat for another season, or? They're not expensive or difficult to change. Just a question. Right, let me get back on board and I'm going to answer that next question. Whoa. Look at this. So you climb a ladder with no hands, right? Health and safety approved. What we're live streaming is if you hurt yourself, there's a lot of evidence as to why it was your own fault. Not that it could be anyone else's fault here, I guess. It was so icy on deck yesterday that I was convinced I was going to slide off. You know, if I just trodden like that on yesterday, I would have slidden off the side of the boat, and it's a long fall down to the floor. Right, angle grind the outer surface off. What, just sort of smooth it out a little bit, you mean? Oh, you mean as in like expose like fresh material underneath? Okay, you said you'd definitely change it. Okay, yeah, I mean I probably will change it. It's not a big job to change it. Yeah, change it if you've got the choice. Okay, cool. Yeah, I will I'll get one ordered and we'll change that then. Makes sense. Good pair of knee pads is essential for boat work. I find a good pair of knee pads is essential for most work, but yes, kneeling on the floor is quite painful. Make kind of a Sandbank Community Development Trust Mooring Association where I am. Sandbank, is that like the other? That's in the Clyde, isn't it? Sandbank rings a bell, but Okay, Joe is listening. Caught her out. Yeah, let me know. Yeah, I'll look into that. That could not be a bad one. I mean, I'm kind of looking for somewhere like further north, because I say the point of it all is that if we want to get, the further we want to go, the harder it gets if you need to come back, basically. Yeah, so if we could leave it somewhere, potentially even for the entire year, like up near Skye or that kind of area, then it means we don't have to kind of rush back. Yeah, rush back down here, which could take at least a couple of weeks. Okay, Tim, do you stay on the boat at night when you are doing these repairs, or do you stay in the van? I stay on the boat. Oh, it's off her look. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it'd be an option to, like I say, particularly if I do end up leaving it on a mooring over the summer, then if it's cheaper there, then it might be worthwhile. But if I'm going to go to Holy Lock, I probably might as well come back here. At least my van will be parked here and it's easier to get to. Yeah, no, I do sleep on the boat up the front. Yeah, my van is not suitable for sleeping in, so it does make, that's partly the reason why Joe and Skylar haven't come with me, because obviously it makes it a bit more difficult if you've got 2 people and a dog, as opposed to me. I can just live in the squalor that I'm used to, and not be too much complaining. Right, so let's have a look at my screw box, shall we? Joe, post a link to your photography channel. I don't know if you were there earlier when people were asking about it. But let's say. Sandbag is it? Oh, bloody hell, Joe. On the ball now, aren't you? Right, okay, so what I have got are these, which I think longer versions of the ones that were in it, so I think they would be pretty good. The odds of me having 4 that are exactly the same though are pretty slim, but that one with the smooth bit should work okay. Okay, there's 3. There's an extra long one. I think I found most of these bolts when I was salvaging that other boat a little while ago, so it's kind of worked out pretty well. I have 4, and I think that would probably be sufficient. Bide Marina in Ardrossan. Yeah, so I think if that's the one, I think I did look at that one originally. I think that is that the one, it's kind of like right up the river close to Glasgow, and it's in like one of the old dockyards. So it's like, if you look at it on the map, you kind of got the Clyde River / estuary or whatever, and then it kind of like cuts off it, and there's like loads of like man-made sort of areas. If it's that one, I did look at that a long time ago when we first were looking at getting a boat, deciding where to keep it. Yeah, I mean, it's much more convenient for, if I go further up there, it's closer for driving. It takes about an hour and a half to get to here from Glasgow. But then on the flip side of it, it's an extra kind of half a day of sort of sailing / motoring to get up to here, and an hour and a half drive to save half a day of sailing every time we want to start a trip is probably a reasonable trade-off. So yeah, like I say, I would be looking for yeah, I'm kind of looking for somewhere that kind of I can leave the boat outside of the Clyde, so that we start off, we go out round the Mull, go north, and I don't have to bring it back round the Mull until later maybe. Okay, sorry, my phone started buffering. I suppose, yeah, you'd be down on the I suppose from that angle, yeah, you are close to get round the Mull, I guess. Maybe I'm thinking of different places to you. I'm thinking of the one that's further up the Clyde, so you'd have to come past here to go to it. Maybe I think we're talking about different places maybe. Yeah, so I did speak to a couple of other boatyards. There's one on Butte, right on the north of Butte. It's a big old boatyard. They've got like a 500-ton lift. You know, they take literally like the ferries out there, but they also have boat storage. And that would be kind of great. It's a bit of a ball ache to get to, but you know, I'm a day's sail closer to, you know, the places I want to be there than I am here. But I spoke to them, and they were a bit weird, to be honest. They kind of like said, they were very like cagey about, oh, we're not sure if we can fit your boat. Like, if not fit your boat, as in we've got your boat. They basically said your boat might be too big for our lift. And I'm looking at all the pictures, and their lift is exactly the same one they've got here. And as I say, they've got up to a 500-ton. You know, like I say, these are serious. This is a serious boatyard, and I sort of was asking them, you know, how do you feel about, you know, if I want to do work on there and stuff like that. And, you know, they were just really cagey. And in the end, they were like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't think, you know, we can't accommodate you because I'm just going to attach you on here so I can actually do some work while we're talking rather than me just yabbering on. Yeah, and, you know, and you just got that sense of, yeah, I don't know if this is a good move, leaving my boat here. You know, I kind of feel like I'm going to end up with headaches with them, and that's the last thing you want. You know, plus I'm relying on them. I'm relying on them to look after my boat for me. So yeah, in the end I was like, yeah, you know what, forget about it. I'll just come back to RB. So that's the other side of it. You know, like when I talk to a marina and a place to keep the boat, I do want a sense from them that, you know, it's a good place and they'll look after it, and you know, and I can trust them and rely on them. You know, it isn't always the case these days. Right, got some drilling to do. Right, what do I do with my I was going to put my batteries on charge for the drill the other day. I forgot about that, so that doesn't bite me in the butt. Just put it down here. Okay, so we're going to mark and drill these. I've got these bolts which are considerably longer, so should work. So we're going to basically have to drill in and countersink them in. Yeah, and then we'll screw that down into the plinth and we'll bolt the toilet to that. Okay, that should work. Find something to mark this with. Right, so let's make sure this is positioned right. Yes, that should be fine. My head torch. You see what I'm doing. Well, you can post your link again, Joe. I won't ban you for advertising other channels. I'm not sure if that chat has vanished now. But yeah, definitely take the chance to plug your channel as much as you can, Joe. You're doing really well on a new photography channel. Like I say, it only started at the beginning of this year, whereas obviously this one has been going for about 4 years now, and she's already surpassed this channel in terms of the size of the thing. And her last video went semi-viral. So, well, I say semi-viral, did about 20,000 views, which is a pretty big deal for a channel that's less than a year old. And Yeah. So, right. Mark. Right, now I need to find something that I can drill this on without drilling a hole in my bench. And I also need some drill bits. Well, the one thing I went to go and get this, went out the other day to get some more tools, and one of the things I desperately needed was some more drill bits. But the one thing I couldn't find at the shop I went to, or at least no decent sets. Oh, look at that. Jo has reinvented herself to a photo channel, so there you go. Now you can find it. Okay, has there been more than one channel video from the sailing trip on there yet, Jo? I can't really remember. I know there's been the one going hunting for seals, but have you done any others on there? I can use this whole piece of wood to drill through. But yeah, obviously a lot of similar things. Oh, what about Locked On? Did you do one when we went to Locked On? I know we haven't been to Locked On in the world that you guys live in, but at some point you will see that we're going to Locked On. Yes, all of them. What do you mean yes, all of them? They're not all. You haven't got all. They're not all from our sailing trip. Did I literally not drill them all? Yeah, thank you, Bob. Yeah, I know I'm biased, but she does actually make pretty decent videos over on the photography channel. Particularly, say, if you like wildlife and stuff, particularly British wildlife, you get to see what passes for wildlife in the UK. As I say, just starting a new project to build a nature reserve in our back garden. Well, we say nature reserve. If the planning department are asking when someday we knock down our house and rebuild it, it's not a nature reserve. The last thing we want is them stopping us doing that because we live in a nature reserve that we created ourselves. But yeah, it should be an interesting year over there. Okay. I'm going to put this in and test fit the make sure the other holes are lined up before I make a complete hash of it. Okay, all the sailing trips are out. So, oh yeah, Mallet, Rona, Egg, Locked On. Tasty deer. Yeah, she did do a video on the local deer rut. Yeah, on the Rona, one of the islands we stopped at, they have a big deer population, and as such they sell fresh venison just in a little fridge by the pontoon for an honesty box. So when we stayed there, we had some really nice venison there, steaks. Yeah, it's amazing we don't eat more deer in this country. We're kind of overrun with them, and they give a very nice meat, but people are weird when it comes to food. Don't want to try new things a lot of the time, I think. But yeah, I do like some venison. So I guess, yeah, well, I suppose there are a lot of bit deer in Texas. Joe's dad, until very recently, lived in New Mexico, which is, I guess, not too far. I mean, up looking on a map as opposed to driving. It's not too far from where you guys are. Well, even those bolts are not quite long enough. I think that's a good way of looking at it. People don't like eating cute or ferocious animals. I suppose that's a fairly reasonable assessment. Well, I've always thought that cows are pretty cute, and we don't seem to have an issue with eating them. Those holes line up pretty well. Cows can go either way on cuteness. Yeah, I think the kind of Disneyfication of cows versus the reality of what they look like in a feedlot, for example. Sorry, checking my messages. Somebody sent me a picture of some pizza for some random reason. Yeah. Oh. So we're going to carry on with this stream for a bit longer. I kind of want to try and get this toilet at least sighted, even if I have a bit of tidying up to do afterwards. But yeah, so far I think it's been all right. No one's complaining about the sort of technology side of it. So I'm guessing that streams worked relatively well. You say the dream. I was planning on doing it this year, but it doesn't matter if I tell you now. But basically, my plan was to live stream going around the Mullican Tyre, because I think it. I didn't in the end because, quite frankly, the trip down to Campbelltown with the engine, you know, as I say, it really kind of didn't leave me in a very good place mentally, I guess. You know, I had really low confidence at that point, and yeah, and I was very nervous and concerned about the you know, that trip and how it was going to go, and the idea of just being on camera the whole time. I just decided against it. You have 3 heads on board. Yeah, are they electronic toilets as well? Yeah, everyone. Yeah, I agree. I like watching lots of things more than I like doing it. So I didn't. But one thing I did do while I was on my way around was kind of see what the phone signal was like for the trip, and I think it's doable. I think there'd be interruptions. I think there are some areas where the network wouldn't be strong enough, and it would either sort of drop off, or it would you know, be intermittent or something like that. But it certainly is viable in some places around Scotland, because as I say, the signal is remarkable on the west coast. So you know, hopefully this year we will certainly try and give that a go. But I thought this would be a good tester while I'm stationary to do it. Not lining up. And yeah, I might do some more of these. I'm up here for a few more days. Oh, they're just manual, yeah. Yeah, same. EE on the west coast is yeah, incredible. Like, we've been in some places where there is no sign of human civilization, and you're sort of streaming 4K movies on Netflix. So yeah, so I think it would be doable. But I might do some more of these job wise while I'm up here. I've not got too much to do, as uninteresting as this kind of is. This is about the most interesting job I've got to do, hence why I'm doing it now. Man, I'm going to really regret not taking this base off and lining these holes up properly. Well, a couple of jobs I'm doing, you might have seen, can you see them on the floor here? On the floor here, I've got a load of these plastic strips, and they are basically, you might be able to see in here, and it runs all the way length, is basically the join between the hull and the deck, and it's a notoriously leaky spot on ETAP 30s. I did some work last year, which you'll have seen the video of, where I replaced the rubbing strake which goes around the outside, and kind of did some work to try and fix and seal up that bit, but you still get water coming in. A lot of it's condensation because it's this is a dual skinned hull, so there's there's 2 layers with foam in between, both the whole way, so they're quite good on insulation, but that isn't insulated, so you've basically got like a sandwich bit of fiberglass that goes straight out to the elements and the cold, so it's a beautiful spot to collect condensation. And it had like a wooden strip, which was the original one, and it's got all rotten, so I pulled that off yesterday. I cleaned it all out, including like with some thinners and stuff, yeah, basically I need to fit these strips in there, and also do a bit of sealing up in there. So got that job to do. I've also I pulled the rudder out at the end of the last season because our rudder bearings, I've got the old ones here, these are the rudder bearings, so that one goes in the top, and then that one goes in the bottom of the hull, and then it's a spade rudder, so the big shaft that goes through the middle, and that's what holds them tight. And these are, I don't know how old these are, but they're very worn, and the rudder's had a lot of play, and it was pretty horrible. So I got new ones. Now, you might have seen this before, I might have mentioned it, but these are just plastic. As you can tell, they're some kind of hard nylon basically. They don't need to be waterproof, because basically there's a tube that comes up all the way from the outside to the inside, so these don't need to seal or anything. They're just literally plastic bushes to use it. Now in the chat, I want to see some comments on this. Have a guess what these cost for these two bits of plastic. Now, you may know the answer, some of you, because there are other videos out there about this. I'll give you a hint as to what they cost. There's only one company in the world that makes them and supplies them, so that should give you maybe an indication of where this conversation's going. But yeah, before I tell you, have a guess what those two cost. And I'll be surprised. Well, I don't know, you're all boaty people, so you're probably not going to be too far off, but even in the world of boats, they're pretty shocking. 150 quid. Okay, we've got an offer, and I'm going to go higher or lower than 150. Far too much. Well, I don't want to give anything away, but you may be on the right track there. So yeah, any guesses on 150? Joe, you're not allowed to guess because you already know. I'll give you a hint, JC. You are being way too optimistic there. You say 250 quid. Okay, well, I'll put you out of your misery. I haven't checked recently, but given everything's gone up in price, I'm going to assume that they've got more expensive. But the last time I checked, for those two bits of plastic, it was £950. Are they Jeff? I don't know what that means. Yeah, they were not. These two bits of bit of machine plastic are £950. So probably more like £1,000 now. Now in the end, I have a friend who has a machine shop. Yeah, exactly, Jesus. Bear in mind, that's 10% of the cost of the boat for those 2 bits of plastic. So I had, let me grab you the other one. Actually, I'll take you with me and show you where they actually go. Show you what I'm talking about. So I have a friend who owns a machine shop who, with the help of, between myself and him, we managed to sort of do a CAD design for them. That's the other new one. So yeah, the top one goes in there like that. The rudder sats on top, and then, I don't know if you'll be able to see down the bottom there, but the bottom one goes in the bottom there. Yeah, so I had a friend in the machine shop who basically made these, and he charged me 280 for them, 280. Yeah, so bear in mind we're talking British pounds as well, not dollars, so I guess you'd be, I don't know what exchange rate is at the moment, but you're looking at about $1,500. Now, do you think that that's because there's $1,500 worth of materials and work there, or do you think that without them your boat doesn't work and they're the only person that supplies them in the world? It is basically a very high quality nylon, from what the guy at the machine shop explained to me. So yeah, I mean the materials costs are not, you know, not nothing. You know, but you know, I mean, if they were made of brass or copper or something like that, you know, £1,000 would still be a bit of a sting, but you know, you could probably, you know, probably build your bridge with that kind of cost. But yeah, so we do actually now how I kind of did a CAD design for it so that you can theory put them in a get them made on a CNC machine. Now I don't know, like, again, maybe I've made a mistake here, maybe I'm going to regret not buying the official ones, but like, you know, £1,000 like, you know, like I say, that's 10% of the cost of the boat, and you know, it's 6 months of my storage fees for 2 bits of plastic. Delwyn, is that type of plastic, is it? He did tell me that it wasn't a name like that, it was I don't know, like a code kind of thing, but anyway, like many things, I mean, it's a bit like, you know, like I say, I really need to be careful about what I say about buying stuff for this boat, because like I say, there's pretty much one company that has the sort of molds or patterns or designs or whatever for bits for these boats, and everything they sell is crazy expensive. And I'm a very small channel, and I'm not really that worried about people finding out about it, but I do kind of, I don't want to badmouth them too much, and then someday need something from them and they'll be like, oh, you're the bugger that keeps badmouthing us on the internet. Suddenly the prices are twice the amount. But yeah, they're the same company that do the window bits that I did a video about a while ago, talking about, you know, how it's basically going to cost me 250 quid a window to get these fixed, and I end up coming up with my own little design with these big wing nuts. And they're also the same one that does all the tow rail stuff around the edge, which I also really need to replace. But you know, it's going to be about £3,000 to £4,000 if I get the parts to replace it, and I just, yeah, I can't face that. So right, okay, well those holes are now at least vaguely lined up. So what we need to do now, bring you over here for a closer look. So what we need to do now is essentially recess these into it, because this needs to sit flat. So my biggest drill bit that I have, not that big, I think, yes I do have a bigger one, which I think that is going to be pretty perfect. So let's bring these back out. I'm a bit worried that these aren't going to be long enough, but these are the longest ones I've got, so if they're not, I'm going to have to go and get some more tomorrow. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying earlier, may do some more of these over the next couple of days if people are interested. But not got that many jobs to do. So, but certainly something to bear in mind for, you know, if we've got some more chunky, substantial jobs to do. Okay, so what I need to do, actually I just thought, is that drill bit going to fit? Yeah, 12mm, yes it will. Oh no, it won't. Balls. Yeah, basically, it's a bigger drill bit than my drill. So that ain't gonna work. I do have a slightly smaller one, which I think is probably a 10. Fortunately, I think because it's plastic, I can actually just, if I run it in reverse, it does a pretty nice job of just, oh come on, this hole's way too tight. Well, you can hopefully see, it does a pretty nice job of just boring it out. Unfortunately though, I really need to bore it out with that one. What I could do is I could heat this up and then just melt it in because it's plastic. But alternatively, if I took it off, I could probably actually just almost press fit these. Yeah, I mean that's, you know, these boats of this era are amazing, but you know, you kind of got to bear in mind that, you know, so this boat is, I think it's 86 or 88 or something, so you know, 35 getting on to 40 years old. You know, the company that made this boat doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of gone through various sort of existing and not existing, through various people buying it out and things like that. But you know, at the end of the day, with a boat this age, you can't expect to go down to your local supermarket and pick up the bits for it. So yeah, it comes with the territory, and I'm just having a bit of a whinge about pricing because I'm a middle-aged British person that our favourite pastime is moaning about the cost of everything, particularly this day and age. Yeah. Back down to the van for the tap set. Yeah, no, I don't have a tap set. Yeah, I mean, exactly. You know, there won't be any patents on it, so yeah, like you know, I don't think I'm in any problems of designing my own bushes for it. You know, and you know, but you know, at the end of the day, if you're one company that's probably making bits that are, you know, all not handmade, but you know, custom made, then it's not that unreasonable that you're going to have to charge a fair chunk for them. So yeah, you know, like I say, I'm having a whinge, but you know, it is what it is, and at the end of the day, I don't have to buy them, don't have to own a boat. My choice to get involved in this stuff, so down to me to decide how I'm going to fund it. Okay, so what I think I'm going to actually try and do is I'm going to try, not sure if this is going to work. Right, we'll do this as a proof of concept. I'm thinking if I just put, if I screw it all the way in, that's what I'm showing you, let me move this around so you can see it a bit better. So I'm screwing that in, I've got this little piece of metal that can go on top of there. No, I don't want that screw, I want a nut. And then if I get a nut, I'm going to need a socket for this one. I'm going to need a socket. Where's my 13mm socket? Somewhere in this rusty mess. That looks like a 13, yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. Annoyingly, the machinist that made these parts for me is deciding to shut up shop and call it a day after Christmas, so I won't be able to use them anymore, which is a shame. Is that going to pull in nicely for me? So which side's going to pull in first? That side or this side? So this is one of the benefits of this plastic material, is it's a bit malleable, so it will kind of pull itself in more than it would with wood. It's a bit of a race between this side pulling in before the other side does. Do a bigger wash though. Oh dear. Anyone else got big plans for this summer, particularly if you're in the West Coast? You know, they might run across you if you're, I think, like I say, our plans for this summer, we're going to head, hopefully go further north. Sort of Outer Hebrides is kind of the dream for this year. I did have a crazy dream. I wasn't necessarily going to talk about this, but as I'm running out of things to talk about, at some point I want to go all the way around the UK, basically. I think that would be a pretty amazing challenge to do. I was considering doing it this year, basically because there's another guy on YouTube. He's called The Bumbling Sailor. Quite a small YouTuber, so you might not have come across him, but he's an interesting character. He started his channel and started sailing a year and a half ago now, I guess. It was around the same time I was buying my boat, which is why I kind of came across him. And he, like I say, he's this very northern British guy. Never sailed before, never owned a boat before. Just decided to hell that I've seen all these people on YouTube doing it. I'm going to buy a boat and set off. And he started. Inevitably on PBS, yeah. He started going around the UK basically. He's kind of doing it full time, so he's sort of taking his time pottering around. And he passed this area not that long ago actually. And like I say, I was sort of watching him and thinking, basically if he can do it, you know, then in theory I should be able to. You know, there's always the problem's going to be time. What the hell's going on here? You know, like it's about 2,000 miles, I guess, to go around the Outer Hebrides, sorry, around the UK. It varies significantly depending on how many corners you cut, basically. So I kind of had this mad idea that I could potentially do it. What have I done to this bolt? That I could potentially do it in about 8 weeks. It wouldn't be a very relaxing or leisurely experience, and it would, you know, it'd be more of a race around it. But I thought it'd be really interesting. I think it'd be good. It would certainly make for good content, even if it's just me failing and struggling. And yeah, so I was actually thinking about doing that this year, but in the end, decided that that I needed another year of building the experience and just getting used to the boat before I endeavoured on something like that. You know, it would involve, like, I mean, to do it in 8 weeks, basically it's averaging something like 30 odd miles a day. And give some context, you know, the trip round the Mulligan Tyre from Campbelltown to Gear is about it's about 40 miles, and that's probably the longest leg that we've done. You can see me. Yeah, that's probably the longest leg that we've ever done, and it would essentially mean doing that every day for weeks on end. Now, obviously, you know, the weather is not always going to play ball that I can just sail all day every day, so I'm going to have to take into account that 30 miles a day average is not going to mean, you know, waking up every morning to beautiful sunshine, sailing 30 miles and then anchoring in a beautiful place. It's going to probably mean some stints of, you know, where the weather's good, where I'm going to have to basically sail non-stop in order to make distance. Yeah, you know, stopping halfway and then maybe doing the next the following year is also an option I've considered, and that could work out pretty well. That might end up being just the necessity, because you know the 8-week sort of window, the reason for that is essentially work, and I will hit a pretty hard point where, you know, I have to go back to work, and if I'm, you know, on the other side of the country at that time, yeah, I can't just magically teleport the boat back to here. So obviously there's logistical issues there of getting back from there, and if I set off from here and leave my van here and then I finish in Norfolk on the other side of the country, somehow I've got to get back back here to get my vehicle, and so there are logistical issues with that kind of idea. Yes, yeah, there's not much period in this area where thick coats are not a necessity. Yeah, so yeah, and then basically, yeah, as I say, because although it's an average, I would probably end up having to do some stints of essentially, you know, 24-hour sailing. You know, if the weather's good, I would probably just have to sail and sail and sail and not, you know, not stop. This is not an experience that Joe is overly keen on. I think she'd probably agree if she's in the chat. Yeah, Joe does not want to join me for this, so she might join me for some of it. Idea being that she might, you know, maybe come down like halfway and spend a few days maybe going through around the south coast of England. Yeah, I would be solo for most, if not all, of it, which is obviously going to be a big challenge, you know. So anyway, so long and the short of it was decided that probably not this year, but maybe, well, definitely not this year, but you know, maybe next year it could be something that we look into doing, or I look into doing. And yeah, I think undoubtedly it would make for a pretty entertaining video series with me probably losing my mind having after I've sailed for days on end with no sleep and things like that. The hell have I done to this standing knife? I've like glued it together somehow, probably from when we've been doing fiberglassing or something on the boat, or epoxying stuff. I've managed to get epoxy stuffed in it. Jesus. I don't know what I've managed to get stuck in this knife. It does not want to open. Why am I like 38 degrees? Jesus. Yeah. We I said earlier, Joe's dad used to live in New Mexico, and a few years ago we went out for holiday and we did a road trip from New Mexico to Las Vegas via sort of Grand Canyon, and yeah, we stopped at the Hoover Dam, and it was in the 40s. I mean, obviously you're kind of in a valley of rock with a massive concrete block under you just to track the heat, but yeah, that's seriously hot. You know, I mean, we have not had much of a summer this year at all. Like, it's funny watching the video, or editing the videos I've been doing recently. It's you know, it looks like we had really nice weather, but I don't remember ever having any decent weather. But I think what's probably going to happen in the series is, from this point forward, the weather is going to take a turn. Yeah, no, New Mexico was lovely. Yeah, I think like the rest of the series is going to be all coats and rain, basically. Jesus. Okay. Well, I was trying to get that knife so I could just whittle out this hole a little bit more, but I don't think that's going to work. I did at one point have a I know it's called a little countersinking hole maker, but not anymore, pal. Yeah, that first one kind of went in okay, but I'm just a bit worried that it's not going to work brilliantly. So you know what I'm actually going to do? If I have a lighter anywhere. I do have a lighter. I'm going to try and melt through this. I should probably do this on the gas stove, it'd be a lot quicker, but let's do a proof of concept. See what melts first, my fingers or the lighter. I always like, doesn't matter how many tools you've got, how many tools you bring, you can always guarantee you won't have the thing you need. Right, let's see. Well, it's melting. I think without the gas hob I'm going to have to, it's going to be a real slow job this. I might have got it going enough. It's a bit weird, I've just kind of munched the end of that nut doing that last time. So these are things that melt first, yeah. The fact that lighters are made of plastic and yet they can get as hot as they do without the whole thing just falling to pieces always blows my mind. Like, if I was to touch the end of that lighter now, it would probably take all the skin off my fingers. and yet the little bit of plastic holding it together hasn't melted. Miracles of plastic, eh? And I could just hammer that in like that. That would probably be a good. But I'm going to do that off camera, so you don't look at me using my tool as a hammer, my spanner, sorry. Also, cover your ears. Or at least take the headphones out if you're wearing headphones. Right. Probably should have warned you about that before making a really loud noise. What's my phone doing? I just saw you put the live stream on WhatsApp, Joe. Not that I'm sure any of my family will be in here, but oh yeah, I mean, the life of a Bic lighter is purely based on how long it takes you to lose it. Nothing to do with how much gas is in it or how much flint's in it. Damn sure. I've literally ruined this bolt. I wouldn't have thought it would take that much force, but I'm guessing these bolts aren't particularly high tensile sort of bolts. Try it with a new bolt. So this job felt like it was going to be like over in 5 minutes when I started, until I realised I was going to have to do this job, and then it's just been like one problem after the next. To be honest, I don't think I need to countersink them all the way. I mean, it's going to need to sit flush on the bottom, but not like... I don't need to worry too much. Yeah, just put a few of them in the bottom of the thing. Right, okay, well no, actually that went in quite easily, that one. Just so you know, the grand finale of this live stream is not going to be me using the toilet. Just in case any of you are hanging around for that. Mainly because of YouTube terms of service, but also, you know, using a sea toilet when you're not at sea, yeah, always leaves a nasty surprise outside. I'm hoping the grand finale, this is going to at least be kind of in place, but I don't know how long I've been going for, but given how dark it is outside, I'm guessing... Hello Ross, I was wondering, I saw your message on the WhatsApp a bit ago and I was wondering if that might have been about this. Ross is my friend from university. Well, I say friend, he's someone I was forced to endure during university. And he's well known for setting up secret cameras to keep an eye on me. Pretty sure it's on his criminal record. What's this bucket doing under the thing? And what's his milk? No. Yeah, no. I mean, like, you can't even use any of the sinks. I have to, like, literally have, like, a bucket. So when I say you don't use any of this, I don't mean for, like, going to the toilet. I mean, like, you know, when you brush your teeth and things like that. You know, if you use the sink, even if you put water down, you just end up with like toothpaste stains all the way down the side of the boat. Plus, although it rains a lot here, it's never raining enough to bring the water level up to the point where the water gets pumped in. Okay. Let's give this another go. 3 down. Oh, sorry, 2 down, 3 to go. Pretty sure this is the neck and bolt. Almost done with that. A little bit over my socket. There it is. In enough. Not sure. Well, I'm hoping this is going to work when I put it together, like on the floor. Because I'm just a bit worried. I'm obviously not going to be able to access the underside of this once it's screwed down. So I'm basically going to have to get all these bolts in it and clamp down, and then hope that it all sort of comes together in the end. Oh man. Okay, one more to go. Kind of getting a decent imprint in there. It's not like a nice sort of perfectly cut out hexagon shape for it to sit into, but yes, we should catch up soon. Ross, thank you for stopping by, and look to the family. Go and meet up in Cheltenham or something, as we have been talking about doing for about the last 5 years. Cheltenham's where I went to university, so we've been talking about for years about going back for a reunion. But you know what life's like when you get to this age. You never have the time to do the things you want. Interesting on tie. I was wondering about, like, I started this at the time I did mainly because that was sort of essentially when I woke up, or after I woke up and had several coffees and got myself organised. That was when I started. But I know, like, a lot of people watch the channel from in America, so I guess, like, say, was it you, Bob? I don't remember who it was from Texas. From Texas, obviously started watching it just before 9 in the morning. Most people in the UK will obviously be at work and things at this time of day, and so maybe that's the ideal time when I sat in the office and can't bother to work, and so looking for something to watch online. But yeah, it's interesting to know what the right time of day would be to do this, basically. Okay, right, so those are all done. So what we want to do now is just fit the bolts that we're actually going to use. So now the old one was just screwed into that base. I think it's probably going to be the same as what I do. And they were pretty chunky screws that they used, but do I have anything chunkier? Box of screws. Well, they're all my little screws, but they're not going to work. Those are the ones that came out of it. I only have 3 of them now because say one of them was a bolt that sheared off when I took it out. We do randomly, it seems, have not a perfect like for like, but pretty much the same thing, so that would do. I was kind of thinking I might put something a bit bigger in there, but I'm not convinced that I have anything bigger. What I'll end up doing is probably putting the same ones back in, and then if it doesn't work out I can always put some bigger ones in later. Right, this one in. Okay, you're in. And then go for one of these real big boys. They're all different lengths, but they should all work. They should all just about work. Right. Where's my little bit of adjustment required. Okay. Right, so that's going to fit onto there. I'm not even showing you what I'm doing, am I? So that will fit onto the bottom, and got just about enough meat to get bolts on the end of those. Okay, so right, let's go back up to the head. Is the head just a toilet, or is the head also the room? I don't know. But so because there's a critical mistake potential coming up, which is if I mount this. Oh well, I'm down to 17% on my battery, so I should probably stay plugged in. Hang on a sec. One of the annoying things about the GoPro is it's been plugged in most of the day, but even so, it still just doesn't. It won't charge fast enough to offset the falling thing. Right. Yeah. So yeah, critical mistake chance is that if I mount the board the wrong way around, the toilet will be facing backwards. So we should probably double check that before we install the toilet. Well, oh, there we go. So I've just come back to my tablet in the front here, and It's showing I'm miles behind, but that's just because the tablet is miles behind. Can we go back to live, please? There we go. Head derived from sailing ships in the toilet area of the regular sailors was placed at the head or bow of the vessel. Okay, so it does refer to the toilet area rather than the necessarily specifically the toilet itself. There you go. We're all learning stuff. Right. So my thinking, most of the weight obviously goes down through the central column. This side bit is not quite as much of an issue, so we're going to mount it just like that. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, obviously I say my fat ass sits here, and that's putting the weight mostly down onto this bit here, so shunting it over this way a little bit. Make sure that all of that weight's over there is probably the right move. So yeah, I guess all that's left now is to drill. I'm just thinking while I'm looking. Yeah, basically I just need, if I take the toilet back off, drill them, screw them in. Put the toilet on, put the nuts on, put the plumbing on. And that should be it, right? Should be it. Okay, right, so let's just take this out. Put it back now the right way so I don't bugger that up. Okay. Right, so get this lined up. That's where it's supposed to be. Basically like that. And then I'm hesitating because this drill bit I've got here is a little bigger than I'd want to necessarily use. I am a bit short on drill bits at the moment. A small one. Pretty much the same size. I do have some super tiny drill bits I could use, but what is that? I love they always put the mark for the size of the drill bit right on the bit where the chuck grabs it and scrapes it off. Only the captain had a private toilet. I mean, it makes sense why the captain's toilet was slightly smaller. Yeah, it was at the back where his cabin was, but I don't know. I think the idea of having the toilet at the front, not that it really matters, I guess, but basically means that your boat has to go through all of the crap that you pump out, which isn't so much of an issue when it's just the two of you on board, but a whole crew of sailors constantly sailing through a sea of sailor swill, shall we say. Right, let's just pick a spot to mark these. Try and get these broad there should be good. These are all countersunk, so they shouldn't matter if they're sticking out, or they shouldn't stick out even. And then about there. So I'm going to try and make new holes for these, so that I'm not using what I'm assuming will already be weakened holes in the fiberglass underneath. And I'm going to stick some silicone sealant type stuff, so excuse my language. Keep forgetting I can't edit out when I swear like I do with the videos. Not that YouTube will care too much, I'm sure. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I'm going to use new holes, and I've got some silicone, or I think I've got some Silkaflex or something similar. So right, what I want to do is, actually I do have I have actually got this much smaller drill bit, because kind of what I want to do is a bit of a wobble on it, that drill bit, but I'm going to drill through actually. I think that hole you're not going to be able to see, I'm sure, but that hole is actually pretty much spot on, I think. So